Okay. I mean, I just want to remind the committee that July 1, you need to have a registered superintendent on file. And so the longer the committee waits, the longer the odds get, not as, you lower your success rate.
The IASB did indicate that they could assist in finding us an interim. 234 is definitely willing to have conversations. I say we just let's entertain it. Let's find out. Let's talk to them and see where they
find out what all the interim superintendent is going to be responsible for and how much time, and also, I mean, there is out there right now legislation for
legislation.
Thank you. For the school districts to be combined and stuff. This might be a good opportunity for us to see, and maybe they could cut us some kind of deal. I mean, you know what I mean? So there's some savings at that point there. If, we could work that out. It might be.
Well, it might be the right time to get serious about.
And find out what it is and see if Dr. K, I'm sure, could probably handle it. I don't think she.
So what I would suggest and give a strong encouragement, not that it means anything, to this committee is I would ask this committee to reach out to some of the search firms. You need to sit down with them to see what they have to say, because it doesn't cost you anything to sit down with them to see what they have to say. We might learn something from that. And then that committee needs to make a decision on if they want this current board to make a decision. For example, if this committee comes out and says, you guys need to hire this search firm or we need to do this, then they need to come in and they need to state this to this board, and then we will be able to do it. But this board will not make that decision until that committee comes out and says it, and all three of you guys need to be present to make that suggestion, because this way it's much more transparent than this board making a decision out there. The sooner you start, the sooner better off. There's a lot of what ifs, is what you're saying, so you need to look at starting to at least start to interview search firms. Maybe, the last 2 times we used ISB, they were great. Maybe the other firms could add value. I don't know. But it's up to your committee to figure that out and to report back to this board. This board doesn't have a lot more time. The next meeting is in April. But if you guys need a special meeting for something like that, it needs to come from that board requesting it, so this board could be set up for success going forward to make sure that we're legally compliant or not. I would also maybe encourage that at your next meeting that maybe you invite Dr. Schilling. There's a cost in inviting Dr. Schilling, but Dr. Schilling could be creative in a sense of a way perhaps that he could help also, because if you hire an interim, you're going to start your search right away. It will be just being hired July 1. And so even if you hire a search firm in July or August, you're going to start your search right away, because you want to get that pool quickly out there to see who's available. And then have your pickings and maybe have a superintendent ready to go by picking someone by maybe November or December or January. And this way you're setting yourself up for success. So that's the only advice I can give this committee, is to have another meeting, start the process, even if Ridgewood wants to do it, even if Penoria wants to do it, or Union Ridge, or maybe there's a committee, I don't know, but that's, you need to start that process, because we're running out of time.
I have a question. So legally we have by July 1st, you said?
You have to have a superintendent on who's responsible for this.
So someone has to sign that they're going to take responsibility. There's nothing official, like they have to be hired.
No, and that's it. You would have to hire an interim. You have to hire an interim superintendent. So there's 180 calendar days in a school year, so you need to have someone here full time every single day. A retiree could work up to 120 days, for example. It still not affect their pension. So you get a retired superintendent to come in for 100 days for the first 100 days, to find another one for the other one. But those are strategies that need to be talked about during this committee and with the search firms to see what are the options out there.
But we can't have say Union Ridge superintendent says, I'll take the responsibility.
They could. If you have to have you would have to have a contract outlining exactly what they're responsible for, with evaluations and coming to our meetings and giving directions and oversight. So you need to have someone. It's our districts are very, very small. there's superintendents out there that manage 10 schools. So
Right,
it's
exactly.
possible. It's just that we have to come to an agreement on, what is it going to cost? And I think it's beneficial if it costs us something and Bridgewood gets to save some money too, or you get a Ridgepreneur. This is something that where we all can save money. The possibility of it.
Because we just use the word, not to cut you off, we just use the number 100,000. We're talking about classroom size. I mean, it's pretty easy math, right? So what was it, 220?
220 is the max.
Okay, so you take half of that, and you tell another district, hey, we'll offer you $100,000 to manage our school district. It may be the time, seriously, the time, instead of wasting time searching for an interim superintendent, to really consider this as a stepping stone to consolidate the districts. It's hard to do when you have, just to be frank, it's very hard to do when you have 3 superintendents that don't want to leave their job. And we have this opportunity.
But you have to get the agreement from and from that person.
Well, yeah,
and we all agree, I think we're all.
I just want to agree in the open. I think that's something we should.
I agree with consolidation. I do. That's what I thought about 8 years ago. But the numbers don't jive sometimes. But I'm not opposed to it. I'll give up my seat. Oh yeah, I'm redoing that.
No, but I think that's a serious question we need to really seriously think about. I would like to offer my opinion and to the committee to seriously look at it as a very good possibility. And if we address it as a possibility, we can figure out the steps it takes to get it done. It's probably not that quote unquote hard if we present it the right way. And definitely the job description. What would that look like?
We need to know what interim superintendent's responsibilities would be. You said the Illinois School Board superintendent is offered. I'm sure they have those contracts. If we could get those, to look at those, so that we're not making decisions in the dark as to this is what's best, this is not what's best.
I'm sure they'll be offered those contracts for you to look at if you sign up with them.
Well, but there are other districts that have used interim superintendents in the past that we could, I am sure, reach out to. There are that would discuss, not even letting us see the contracts done, letting us know what the responsibilities are, what that looks like, and then also if you are considering consolidation, speaking to other districts who've gone through something similar and how the resources are shared.
Well, the red tape of the actual consolidation of the district is a big ball of red tape. It's not a small ball of red tape. But we can save money quickly by just getting the okay from the superintendent and offering that money to the district.
Let me just say that I don't believe Mr. Palazzo went in with the intention of asking the other boards and superintendents that was the reason, that's what we were looking at. He went in there and just asked a question regarding where we were at today with where we were at with our superintendency search, and if they would be willing to step in. We don't know what that looks like, if it's an interim or full-time, but at least one acknowledged, and I think that there needs to be some conversations.
Right.
I'm not gonna say that Tim and I are experts at this, because this is all new to me as well. We've always looked for a full-time superintendent, know what the process is. You hire a firm, the firm does the search, brings you your candidates, you interview, we decide which one works best for all of the people involved, and we make the offer. So this is completely different.
Can I make a suggestion?
You can make a suggestion.
So maybe this committee should actually, instead of just maybe talking to 1 or 2 individuals from the board, is actually go to those board meetings and ask to speak and present that, hey, this is an opportunity for consolidation. The first step is to share the superintendent and cost. We could save you.
Well, I don't feel comfortable in having that conversation, because that is not something that I'm going to say that I'm versed at about doing any type of consolidation.
But I'm just saying, maybe
throwing it out there.
But there's the 3 of you, and then I would, during your next meeting, I would look at those when those boards have those meetings and go and have a conversation saying, hey, there's an opportunity here at least to share, so we can just save. I'll throw out the number. We each could save $100,000 in expenses on superintendent. Why wouldn't we want to look at it?
Right.
And just go to the boards and speak to all 7 board members with the superintendent. The superintendent might not feel comfortable because, for whatever reason, but this is an opportunity for our community. We're a small community.
Well,
And so-
we know at this point, if you're gonna talk consolidation,
You might scare
we may
somebody
not
off.
even get now that buy-in from,
But that's,
or that even that
But just-
interest from two
just be
thirty-four.
clear, what I heard you talk about is shared services,
Right.
which could have a potential to investigate consolidation. So the two are not necessarily the same,
Correct.
because consolidation is an entirely different expectation,
Right.
entirely different endeavor. What I'm hearing from the committee is the
We
shared
agreed on we would look at an
services.
interim
Correct.
for the
To
time
help us
being,
out.
to get us through December, and then go for a full-time search where the candidate pool would be larger. That's,
Well, one of the big disadvantages
Am I
of
correct?
having separate districts is that there's a large cost to that. And so that could be one of our the main goals is to reduce the cost, you know, I mean, so that it's, if we look at it, I want to stress this, we look at it as a possibility of saving money. And if we look at it as a possibility and just talk to that, I think we could be effective in working out something with another superintendent and take advantage of that at the time.
What we also have to keep in mind is, you know, the committee wants to do the best possible with the situation and obviously be responsible with the funds as well. And that's why from the meeting, you know, we feel that the most responsible thing to do with the money is to look at sharing services.
Sure.
But I also want you to remember with your comments as well that the only district that said that they're willing to do that said that they will not sit down at the table until after the election, after the new board is on, which would put us into May. And we need something signed by July.
Right.
So
Before
there's.
But there's no
It's just
reason, there's no
changing the
reason we can't have a
conversation.
plan A and a plan B.
Correct.
And plan A, but if you're gonna go along with plan A being the shared services with the high school, you need to develop what that would look like.
Correct.
And have that so that the new board, when they're seated, are gonna be able to sit down and compare apples to apples and make sure that all of the services are being provided, and then they can make their decision versus plan B, also what that would look like. Does that mean hiring a temporary, you know what I mean, looking outside of this area for somebody? You have to have, because of the time constraints, you have to have a plan A, plan B, but you also have to be able to provide the documentation behind planning so that a decision can be made based on facts, not on, yes, money is a very important thing in this district, I mean, because we have none. But the reality is we also have all of these kids that we are responsible for, and that needs to be paramount in making these decisions. And until the documentation can prove that those things are being taken care of, there's no decision to be made.
So I would call another meeting of the committee and as soon as possible to kind of discuss what your options are, and then hopefully you guys can come back to the board. And if we need to have a special meeting, please let me know. We'll call a special meeting because this is the most important thing that this committee needs to do, because waiting just makes it harder it'll just make it harder for the board going forward. So
Yeah, we have our next meeting scheduled for April 4th, 4 o'clock in this room.
and you guys can do anything earlier than that?
Not with spring break, there's not availability.
Great.
So
Thank
that's
you.
as early as we can meet, and as a reminder, it is a public meeting, and you can sign up for public speaking as well.
Great, thank you.